Hi Yogi, and welcome to another Slow Flow with me, Oceana. In this particular class, we'll be exploring a more restorative form of yoga known as yin, which will allow us to stay in these postures for around 3 minutes each, which really gives the body time to settle in and for some different unusual sensations to arise, maybe for some feelings and emotions to arise, and giving us time to really process all of that through the body. We might say that sleep is a passive form of restoring the body's well-being and energy reserves, and yoga gives us a really active version of bringing the body back to its most relaxed, most well-rested self, because we're actively choosing to be in these postures so that hopefully the body gets some new information, some new inputs from the pose itself. And really, one of the other beautiful things about restorative yoga is that there are no levels of difficulty. Of course, I'll still be giving you a few different options because all of our bodies are slightly different, and we'll find different versions of these poses more comfortable for ourselves. However, the way that I'm differentiating these different levels is that we will be adding a few extra props every single week. So today's class is entirely prop free. You don't need anything for this. However, next week we'll gradually be adding a couple of different options, which just gives us a few different ways of feeling into these postures and getting different sensations out of them through the help of the props. So hopefully you will join me over the next 4 weeks as we explore this different pace of life. And in today's class, we'll be starting in a kneeling position. So when you're ready, join me there. When you're ready, separate your knees a comfortable distance and make your way into child's pose by walking the fingertips forward in front of you. Now, if the forehead doesn't comfortably reach the floor, then you could either stack your hands on top of one another or stack your fists on top of each other so that you can rest the forehead onto the hands. Allow the elbows to separate wide if the hands are underneath the head so that the shoulders can soften away from the ears and the head can really truly release its weight into the floor or hands, allowing the muscles in the front of the face to soften, allowing the muscles surrounding the neck to relax so that the breath can travel a little bit more comfortably through the body. And maybe at the end of each inhale and the end of each exhale, the breath begins to linger a little bit longer. And gradually your attention might be able to settle itself within the four corners of your yoga mat, allowing anything that happened before or that will happen after your yoga practice to drift away from your immediate attention, so that you can truly spend a few moments of your day present within yourself. And if the mind is easily distracted, then at any point you can always come back to your breathing. Allow it to become your anchor in today's practice. When you're ready from here, lift the head. Let the hands come underneath the shoulders, tuck under the toes, and let the knees slowly peel away from the floor so that you can make your way into a downward facing dog with the knees generously bent. Have a little walk through the feet, a pedal of the legs. Shimmy the hips a few times from side to side as if you're wagging the tail of the dog. Gently from here, walk the feet forward to the front of the mat and step them as wide as the edges of the mat, so about shoulder distance for most of us. Bend the knees a generous amount so that you can rest your elbows on top of the thighs. And again, see if the head could be heavy so that the back of the neck lengthens and the shoulders soften away from the ears. Allow yourself a few moments to truly arrive in this pose, this version of ragdoll. Let gravity take hold of your head. And then gently let the arms release down, possibly grabbing hold of your elbows if the arms are dangling all the way to the floor. Having a little sway from side to side by bending the knees one at a time. And allowing the arms to be heavy so that the spine is gradually drawn from the hips through every single vertebra towards the floor, creating a little bit more space between each vertebra in the spine. And eventually find a moment of stillness in the center. Allow everything to be weighted down. And if the legs are straight, allow your body weight to travel towards the balls of the feet, deepening the stretch into the back of the legs. Gradually plant the hands underneath the shoulders, step the left foot to the back of the mat, keep the right foot exactly where it is, and come onto your fingertips underneath the shoulders to the inside of your front leg, finding your way into lizard lunge here. So there's the option to stay exactly as you are, or to possibly shimmy your knee a little bit further away from the front foot. Possibly here coming onto flat palms, and over time maybe softening the elbows, or for some of you it might be very comfortable to come onto your forearms. The front foot can turn just a little bit to the outside of the mat, so the toes are pointing away from the face a little bit. And whichever option you've chosen, ideally you're still able to breathe here, not holding any tension within the breath. And allowing the front of the body to soften towards the floor. Noticing as your mind wanders across the sensations in the body, any areas of tension that you might be able to send the breath to, so that each exhalation becomes a little bit of an invitation for the body to relax and release. For most of us, this is quite a strong stretch within the hip joints. So see if the exhale could almost move through the hips as you exhale. And for some of us, that's an easy thing to feel the breath in the hips. For others, we might need to actually visualize the light traveling through the body as we breathe out through the legs. Gradually, when you're ready, plant the hands underneath your shoulders to rise up. Look ahead, tuck under your back toes to lift the back knee and step the back foot to the front. Feet as wide as the mat again. And for a moment, with soft knees hanging between the legs, grabbing hold of the elbows if that's helpful, allowing the head to be heavy, and truly feeling the difference between the left and right side of the body. Having moved through an asymmetrical pose, we notice so much of the imbalances, the differences from side to side. And that can teach us a lot about what's going on within the body. When you're ready, plant the hands underneath the shoulders, this time stepping the right foot back. The knee comes to the floor. And we prepare for lizard lunge on the second side. So same options here. The front toes could gently turn to the side, just a couple of degrees. You might be on top of your fingertips, possibly walking the back knee a little bit further away from you. If you're on the palms of your hands, the elbows could begin to soften towards the floor and the head could hang gently. Or if you are able to very easily come onto the forearms, then of course feel free to do just that. Whichever option you've chosen, let the back of the body relax. Let the crown of the head soften towards the floor. And as soon as you arrive and settle in, truly let your attention rest within the breath. Noticing, again, possibly the areas of tension that are calling to you the most. Or maybe allowing your mind to wander towards the places in the body that don't seem to be saying anything at all. And seeing whether there is any particular sensation, anything to really notice there too. Yin is such a wonderful place to sharpen the awareness of our body. And when you're ready, plant the hands underneath the shoulders. Step your front knee all the way back this time. And find a tabletop position so that your knees are directly underneath the hips. The hands are underneath the shoulders. From there, walking the fingertips forward and if possible, grabbing hold of the front corners of the mat so that you can press the hips on top of the knees. You might need to walk the knees in a touch. And from there, allow the center of your chest to draw towards the floor beneath you. And if you don't have any neck issues, then you can allow the chin to travel forward, resting it on top of the mat so that you're stretching the front of the neck. If there are neck issues and there's any pinching or pain in the back of the head, then keep the chin tucked in so that you're resting more on your forehead. And once you arrive, again, see where the breath is here. Do you feel the breath a little bit more towards the chest rather than the belly? As you exhale, could the chest soften a little bit more towards the floor? Could the shoulders possibly soften with each breath? On your next inhale, walk the hands underneath the shoulders. And we'll take this into thread the needle. So when you're ready, we'll plant the left hand underneath the left shoulder, stepping the left foot to the side so the toes are pointing directly forward and the heel is in one line with the hip joint. As you inhale, right fingertips reach up high to expand the chest. And then we slide that hand underneath, bending the left elbow really generously so that we might be able to come onto the left side, so the right side of the body. Maybe even resting on top of the right side of the head. And if the shoulder and head are all the way on the floor, you might be able to press a little bit more into the left hand, rolling onto the back of the head. Possibly lifting the left fingertips towards the ceiling, or even spinning the palm behind you to reach for the opposite hip. And if you catch the hip, gently allow yourself to press into the left foot, possibly even lifting the heel and truly allowing yourself to roll towards the back of the body. And the eyes could look towards the ceiling or be entirely closed so that you can focus a little bit more on the sensations in the upper spine as you move a little bit deeper into the twist. Slowly allowing the left fingertips to travel in front of your eyes, pressing into the left hand to release the right hand underneath the shoulder and stepping the left knee back in. Take a moment to reset in that tabletop position. I'm going to have to shimmy a little bit closer towards you here so that we can step the right foot out to the side. And again, right hand stays underneath the shoulders so that we can lift the left fingertips up towards the ceiling and slide that hand underneath as we come into the second side. So again, the right elbow bends really quite generously so that we can allow possibly the left shoulder, the left ear to come towards the floor. Maybe the right fingertips could lift towards the sky. And if that's happened and we're quite comfortable either resting on the left side of the head or the back of the head, then we might reach around for the opposite hip. And allow ourselves to settle into the pose, possibly rolling a little bit more towards the back of the head, allowing the right shoulder to move towards the space behind us, and either looking up towards the sky or closing the eyes, finding the breath again. Allowing our attention to be guided and taken by each movement of the breath. When you're ready, release the right hand behind you, plant it in front of your eyes, and press down to unravel yourself. And for a moment, come all the way into a kneeling position, simply so that we can slide the feet out to one side and make our way onto the back body. You can briefly keep your knees bent with the feet flat on the floor, so that we give the spine just a brief moment to truly adjust to this different relationship to gravity. And when you're ready, bring the knees towards the chest, hug them in with the hands and arms. Let the shoulders and hips truly relax towards the ground. Let the head be heavy, but fully supported by the floor. And eventually bring both hands on top of your right shin, interlacing the fingers. Plant the left foot to the floor and optionally walk the foot a little bit further away from you. For some of you, if it's very easily accessible, the leg could be straight. And you can allow your left toes to flop out to the side, allowing the leg to be heavy and fully relaxed. And if you would like to take this a little bit further, we'll take it into half happy baby. So the left hand could come on top of the left hip. The right hand might reach for the back of the knee, possibly anywhere along the outside of your right calf, possibly all the way to the ankle or the outer edge of the foot. And from there, the right knee wants to aim past your right rib cage towards the floor beneath you. Sole of the foot is pointing towards the ceiling, and the right shoulder is drawn towards the ground. Gradually, as your attention shifts back to the breath, see if you can let the exhale soften the hip with each release of the breath. And if the mind is really busy here, then you might even choose to count your breath. So with each inhale, starting with 1, exhale for 2, inhale for 3, exhale for 4, inhale for 5, and continue to count the breath until you get to 10. Slowly, when you're ready, bring your right knee back in towards the chest. Let the left hand travel across to the outside of the knee. Let the right arm release to the side of your right shoulder, either in one straight line or bend the elbow. You might like to briefly bend your left knee and shimmy the hips a little bit more across to the right, so that from there you could straighten the left leg and bring the right knee across to the opposite side of the mat. Left hand can stay on top of the knee to give it just a little bit more weight. And if the knee doesn't quite reach the floor initially, don't worry about it too much. See if you could allow the right shoulder to stay grounded. And allow the breath to continue to be easy and free, even though there's this twist happening in the belly. And again, as soon as you arrive, let the body find stillness. And if stillness in the mind is really difficult right now, you might choose again to count the breath. This time going from 10 all the way down to 1. Gently, when you're ready, lift your knees into the chest. Shimmy the hips back into the center of the mat, and for a moment hug the knees towards yourself. When you're ready, plant your right foot to the floor, keep the left knee into the chest, and interlace the hands in front of the shin, but go one pinky finger over for the unusual interlace here. Let the back of the body soften and choose whether you would like to gradually straighten the right leg again. Again, the first option is to stay here. Otherwise, you might bring the right hand on top of your right hip and grab hold of the back of the knee, possibly anywhere along the calf or the ankle, maybe even catching the outer edge of the foot. And from there, really allowing the left knee to travel past the rib cage towards the floor. Sole of the foot pointing towards the ceiling. And if the breath can let you stay here without having to watch the ripples of your mind as the mind gets busy with things that it feels the need to think about or stories that it wants to tell, then it'd be great to just rest here. But if you need something to keep you here, to keep the mind busy with, then you might choose to count again the breath, but this time only counting each inhale, all the way to 5 full inhalations. Gently, if the right leg is straight, bend the knee, plant the foot to the floor. Rebend your left knee. Shimmy the hips just a touch further to the left. And then as you straighten the right knee, bring the right hand on top of your left knee and guide it across to the opposite side of the mat. So coming into a one-legged reclining twist. The left arm can either come in one straight line from the shoulder or simply allowing yourself to bend the elbow, which can be a lot more relaxing for the left shoulder so that you can truly allow that shoulder to move a little bit closer towards the floor as the left knee moves in the opposite direction. Again, if it's easy to settle in, then simply allow yourself to stay here in the present moment. If you would like to give yourself a little bit more guidance, then count your 5 exhalations here. Slowly to come out, lift your knee. Briefly for a moment, bring both knees in towards the chest, hug them in. Let the spine release back into the mat. And then prepare yourself for Shavasana by straightening the legs. Releasing the arms either side of the torso with the palms facing towards the ceiling. Possibly walking your shoulder blades towards the spine and having a moment to roll the head from side to side to truly find that perfect resting position for the back of the head. And as soon as you arrive, allowing the breath to drop towards the belly. And seeing where your mind is at here at the end of practice. Is the mind still busy, or has it found a way to truly settle in? Are there any sensations lingering within your body? Any areas within the body that are calling your attention? And are there any areas within the body that truly do not feel as though anything is happening there at all? But possibly, could you feel something there if you let your attention drop into those places? Slowly let your breath begin to deepen again here. Walk the feet towards one another. Reach your arms out and over your head. And gently for a moment lengthen a little bit more through the left fingertips and the left heel. And eventually reach a little bit more through the right fingertips and the right heel. Point the toes, take a deep inhale. And eventually as you exhale, bring the knees towards yourself. Hug them in. Round the forehead towards the knees. Let the shoulders and head come back to the floor. And reach your right arm over your head as you turn towards the right side of the mat. Allowing your head to gently rest on top of your lower arm, with the left arm to support you here. Allowing your attention to drift back into the room. Gradually press into your top hand to make your way up to a comfortable seated position. You can keep the eyes closed here to begin with and bring the hands together in front of the chest, bowing the forehead towards the fingertips. And as always, we might choose to use this final moment of our practice to plant a sankalpa, a good intention that guides us away from our yoga mat back into our everyday life, so that our focus rests firmly on the things we're working on. Or we might choose to send that good intention to somebody else who needs it a little bit more than we do. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Namaste, yogi. And as always, thank you so much for joining me on your mat today in practice. I hope you enjoyed it, of course. If you did, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share it with your friends and spread the good word. Of course, if you have any comments, suggestions, feedback, you just want to let me know how your practice felt today, then drop me a line in the comments section down below. I always love hearing from you all. And if you wanted to find me anywhere else online in the meantime, then please find all of my social media links in the video description. I hope to see you back on your yoga mat very soon, and thank you again for joining me today. Bye, yogi.